Ex-IWF members receive lifetime bans, Toma Loredana continues to push on heavy, and tons of PRs on the People's Lift. Hello and welcome back to this week's episode of the Weightlifting House News Show, the only weightlifting news show in the world. So we've got a fair bit of really interesting stories in the IWF, as well as some enormous lifts, and then of course the People's Lifts, which I've brought back with a vengeance. So let's start off with a news story about a man we may all remember well. Tamas, the man who held weightlifting in his tight grip for the last 20 years and who was before that the General Secretary for a further 24 years, has received a lifetime ban from the ITA, the International Testing Agency, having been accused of, quote, tampering with the doping control process. This is not news to anyone. We've known that he's been doing this for a while, but finally he's had some justice. We've had justice. Along with Ajan, Nicu Vlad, yes, the guy who snatched 200.5 kilos, weighing under 100 kilos in body weight, the lightest man to ever snatch over 200 kilos back in 1986, but also the guy who's been involved in, quote, covering up, delaying and obstructing results management for certain athletes that committed anti-doping rule violations, and just in general doing everything that he can to tear down the sport with him, has also received a lifetime ban from the sport. So Nicu Vlad, Tamas, see you later. Yay. If you want to know what they'd done, here's just some of it. So Richard McLaren, the private investigator who also worked on that big Russian doping scandal that was dropped a few years ago, said that, again, quote, more than $10 million, that's £8 million, was unaccounted for, that 40 doping positives had been covered up, and that vote buying was rampant at the past two electoral congresses of the IWF. So that's just a little slice of the corruption for you on what was going on within the IWF between Tamas and, of course, Nicu Vlad. So if that's what happened to the old show running the IWF, what's happening next? I'm glad you asked. Well, 11 candidates have been cleared to stand for the new IWF president at the upcoming elections in Albania, which are taking place over the next few days. I think the 25th of June is when it all kicks off. Of them, a few are taking a stab at promoting themselves to the weightlifting world. One of them, Youssef Al-Mana from Qatar, says that we need to change the perception of the sport, which is an extremely vague thing to say, but he does go on to give a few more specifics. So some of which I think are really spot on. Others are, perhaps in my opinion, slightly misplaced, or they're just in the wrong order. They're good things, they're just coming up too soon. I agree with him that we need to improve the way that the sport is presented, promoting it better in the media and building commercial partnerships. That's just going to bring in more money into the sport, and then good things will come as a result of that. His focus, though, on athlete pay just seems like almost putting the cart before the horse to some degree. I absolutely would love to live in a world where the top weightlifters, many weightlifters are wealthy to make a lot of money, like in other sports. But that comes through building the sport first. Money comes where the eyeballs kind of are. So in general, I think we just need to get more eyeballs on a sport, and then the pay will come after that. But he seems good. He seems like somebody maybe worth listening to. The same can be said for China's candidate, Zhu Jingchang. I've spoken about him a bunch of times. He has, quote, experience in the governance and management of 5 Olympic sports within China. So I've said it before, but to me, he feels like the most commercially minded of all the IWF presidential candidates. Yes, he does want to bring back quotas back up to where they were in 2020. He wants to have 7 categories for men and women, bring it back up to, I think it's 156 athletes. But he also wants to rebrand and bring in sponsorship money to the sport, which I think is definitely where we need to be looking. He said, quote, as president of the CWA, that's the Chinese Weightlifting Association, I have brought booming sponsorships and endorsement deals to the CWA, reaching $5 million last year. This sounds very good to me, so more of that, please. Over now to some of the biggest lifts from the week. Toma Loredana from Romania, I wanted to mention. Is she a 64? Is she a 71? I don't know. She obviously was a 64. That's no longer an Olympic category. She won't cut down, so presumably she's going to be a 71. Where she sits right now, I don't know. She just snatched 115 kilos in a national competition. I think it was pretty much the same day that the 64s or 71s were competing at Europeans, so potentially a bit of a statement being made there. She did the same thing at at the Olympic Games, she snatched heavy on the day of the Olympics to prove a point. The world record in the category is 117 by Deng Wei from China. The world record, or the world standard in the 71s, is also 117 because no one's hit it yet. So she could definitely do that as a 71. She also snatched another 115 kilos, which is put forward in a very cool looking video. So let's play that video now. For those of you who are wondering when she gets to compete, I think the ban could be over by now that Romania is facing. She's not a banned athlete. Romania is a banned country. But Romania currently believes that if they don't pay the fine, eventually the ban does end. So they're kind of in that period where it could have ended. They're in this next bit where they're just waiting out, not paying the fine, assuming that the ban will then end in time for the new qualification process for the Olympics, at which point Toma should then be able to start competing again. Over to some big squats. The Kazakh 96 Artyom Antropov hit a massive 300 kilo back squat double. Speaking of which, Gormanasyan from Armenia, the super heavy, he put up a video. Well, he didn't. It was on a story of someone else, and it was 300 kilos. Was it a front squat triple? It was certainly. Well, it was a triple at 300. If it was a front squat triple, that was remarkable. But I didn't save it because it was on a story, which is a real shame, so I don't have to show it. But it was huge. Another big front squat, Ruslan Nuruddinov, 109 from Uzbekistan, hit 275 kilos. But the biggest lift from the last month, we mentioned this on the Weightlifting House podcast, which is back. It's me and Max, and sometimes with Josh. We spoke a lot about the European champs, but Akbar Djuraev, he snatched 205 and he clean and jerked 245. This means a few things. One of them is he's going to stay at 109 for at least the next 6 months. The word on the street is that he wants to set all new world records. He obviously doesn't hold any world records. He's just a champion in every sort of area. Well, not Asian actually, but he's a world and Olympic champion. The 205 equals Surab Maradi's 205, which I like to compare things to as a ridiculous training lift, that 205 from Surab back in, 2017 or something. Obviously, that's a lift that is so far ahead of anything that almost anyone's ever done, except for Blagoev in competition with his 195.5. But anyway, I'm digressing. Akbar Djuraev hit that 205, 5 kilos over the world record held by Yang Jie. The 245 is 4 kilos over the world record held by his teammate Nuruddinov. It is a kilo below Ilya's old 105 record of 246, which does still stand. It's 5.5 kilos below Zakharevich's 250.5. It's a monster lift. It's a monster lift. So to hit those in training is crazy, very exciting to see. Egypt's Karim Kala, 89, hit a 166 snatch, which is it's good, but the main thing was he hit a 212 clean and jerk, which just another person in that 89 kilo category who's going to, hopefully be pushing forward that category into new heights, because previously, as a non-Olympic category, it never did anything particularly spectacular. But now, as it is, we're going to see people like Nino, obviously, and Carlos, but also Li Dayin, Tian Tao, all of those sorts of athletes, Kedema Vayania coming down, competing in what's going to be a ridiculous category for the next Olympics. Okay, let's go through the people's lift. If you want to be featured on the people's lifts, there are two things you can do. One is use the hashtag the people's lifts or the people's, or the hashtag weightlifting house. I'll look at your videos. If I think they're cool, I'll put them on here. Another way, as it currently seems, is to just be on weightlifting.AI and set a cool PR, because that's what I've got for a few of these. I'm gonna do everything. I'm gonna go through some AI lifts, and I'm gonna go through some just general people's lifts. But these lifts are really epic. Also, I just want to say, the AI is popping off. Let's take a look. Let's just take a look at the lifts. So the first one, Marina Morrison, Munro Fit on Instagram. She hit a 35 kilo hang power snatch plus hang snatch. On her 8th set. The AI is really pushing her with the volume right now. But then it was the fact that she hit a PR push press at 50 kilos in a complex. She cleaned it first and she jerked it afterwards, but she hit the 50 kilo push press. It was a clean push press jerk complex. So epic work there from Marina Morrison. Huge well done there. Then our boy Stephen Charles hit a 150 kilo clean PR. That's a 7 kilo PR. It also equaled his front squat PR, so then he attempted a new PR on the front squat because the AI realized, well, you just hit a 7 kilo PR on the clean, you just equaled your front squat, so you got a front squat there, and so it chucked in a random max front squat session, and he hit 160 kilos, which is a 10 kilo front squat PR. So that's just crazy. I also want to shout out to Henry Olieti, who I've competed against years ago, but he's now going crazy. He's been on the app for, I want to say, around 6 weeks. He just competed and he hit a 14 kilo personal record in total, which is just nuts. 132 kilo snatch, 152 kilo clean and jerk. Almost weighed, I think it was 158 on his third attempt, but couldn't quite get the jerk. But it is crazy. The community is really nice to see. Like, we've got a lot of people posting videos. Tons of form checks coming out from me, Max, and Josh. It's just, yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice to see this Weightlifting House team building using the weightlifting AI. It's just, yeah, it's very, very cool. Okay, now moving on to, I'm not gonna do too many AI stuff, but you can get a 2-week free trial if you're interested. If you want to just know the type of program that would be made for you based on your weaknesses and strengths, then you can get that program for free. You don't have to put your payment details in. It's code 2-week trial. And you can take a look. If you want to then try it, of course. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. It's really cool to train with the use of the AI in the Weightlifting House team. But you can at least take a look at the program. Put a link to that down below. Next we have Wimp Lifting, which is just the self-deprecating type of Instagram handle that I love to see. So the name is Lex, and she hit some technique work with the use of pauses, which I'm also a huge fan of as a way of improving technique. So Lex had a 3-pause snatch of 56, so pause below the knee or just off the floor, pause at the knee, pause mid-thigh and go under. The pauses just allow you to make sure you're balanced in the right position. A lot of the time, the jumping forward or backwards or whatever it is in your pull is just forward or backward momentum. Your weight is in the wrong part of the foot. So being able to pause, just make sure you get in the right place. So nice 56 there. She also did some pause jerks at 65, very solid. And then I actually wanted to go for a few lifts from the same gym. Very hype lifts, always down at Freedom Weightlifting in Florida. Love watching their videos, love watching the growth of their gym because I've been sort of associated with the guy who runs it since Weightlifting House first began, and he first began his journey too. So great to see their gym growing and just crazy lifts. So Alymor, Alymor, is that Ali Moore? I don't know. Ali, she snatched 71 kilos for PR, and it was a really nice lift. Then we had Freedom Llama. I don't know what her name is, but she's called Freedom Llama on Instagram. Another cool handle. 106 jerk PR, and then a 100 kilo triple PR. So for everybody looking for, split jerk motivation, Freedom Llama's got it for you. Huge shout out to the Freedom Llama for that 106. And then I've mentioned it before on the show, Vant Richardson, 120 kilo hip power snatch, and he gets all hyped up. And that lift, I don't know. I think it's probably supposed to just be a hip snatch. And I remember in the past he's had difficulty maybe with his mobility in the snatch. Could be wrong. So it was probably supposed to be a hip snatch PR, but I think it's actually a power as well. So if you agree, let me know, because I think that's a power. And then last lift, not from Freedom Weightlifting, but from somewhere else, we have Nathan Sean Jones, a 105 kilo snatch at the age of 44. So from Masters Lifted, that's pretty sick. 125 clean and jerk also for a 230 total. He used the hashtag don't call it a comeback, which, as you all know, I'm a huge fan of. So shout out to Nathan Sean Jones for that 105. Guys, that's going to be the end of everything for this week's episode of the Weightlifting House News Show. Head to weightlifting.AI. Take a look at the programming, the individualized programming. It changes for you. It predicts for you. It's phenomenal, and you get access to the weightlifting community, the performance community, where we're just answering questions. We're talking about weightlifting. We're doing form checks. It's a whole lot of fun. You just get way more access to, a team of like-minded individuals. So take a look at that. And of course, head to weightliftinghouse.com, grab yourself some tape. You know what to do. Share, like, subscribe, all those good things. Appreciate you guys tuning in, and we'll catch you all on another episode of the Weightlifting House News Show.